This is LA Business Spotlight.
Greed is good.
Always be closing.
It's strictly business.
Welcome to LA Business Spotlight. I'm Joel Metzger. We record this program in the historic neighborhood of Hancock Park, and my guest today knows just a little something about this special corner of Los Angeles. His name is John Duerler, and he sells homes in Hancock Park and Windsor Square. Welcome, John.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Thank you.
Hancock Park is one of the only neighborhoods, or one of the few neighborhoods in Los Angeles that has missed the bulldozer. It's pretty much as it was back in the 20s.
That's correct.
So give us a little thumbnail of how it got started, Hancock Park.
It's a really interesting story. There's a man named Major Henry Hancock, and he actually purchased 4,400 acres from Rancho La Brea back in 1863. Unfortunately, he passed away in 1883, but he passed the rancho on to his wife, Ida, and their son, George. Now we're getting into the turn of the century. Mm-hmm. So what happened, cars started to come looking for oil, and guess what they found? They found oil on the Rancho La Brea, the 4,400 acres. So
it's kind of like There Will Be Blood, like
exactly.
that well, kind of
pretty
thing.
much, yeah, absolutely. And so they had like 77 oil wells drilled. They made a fortune off of it. They were able to pay off Rancho La Brea. Mm-hmm. And George Hancock actually he started the the Automobile Club of California.
Oh, wow.
Rancho La Brea was outside of the city limits,
right.
And he wanted to develop a really nice area. So he created the Hancock Park area. They were the first paved roads in this division, and he had a mandatory setback for all the properties to be 50 feet from the front of from the curb. And then he was also the first one to put the power lines in the back instead of the front.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was and they had a minimum of $10,000 for the homes back then. So you're in the teens and the 20s, and
that's good.
That was a big chunk of change back then.
Yeah. So a lot of famous people have lived here Give me some idea of any of the people who may have lived in this area that were key to the development of Los Angeles as a city.
One is Henry Gaylord Wilshire. Gaylord Wilshire, of course, Wilshire Boulevard.
Sure, yeah, the name is familiar.
He created a lot of in the cities and stuff. And there's a great story in there where they were at the bar and they were drinking and they overheard this guy talking and dealing with the railroad. And the railroad had a big stake during development time back then.
The red car line?
Yeah, the red car line. But they also had a lot of the railroads just owned a lot of land. They took a lot of land over. And he was talking to this gentleman, and he was like part of the railroad, and he wanted to develop a city. And this guy's name was Fullerton. And
again, familiar.
That's how Fullerton got its name, from this guy who worked for the railroad, and he was given some information and development, and Wilshire came in there, and even Pine Street down in Long Beach was developed. Wilshire had a big hand in that as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he's just one of them. Of course, the Chandlers, Dorothy Chandler, they lived over on Lorraine. Mm-hmm. The Amundsons, that big house that we have there. Let's see, who else? There was, of course, the Getty.
Yeah, familiar.
Getty, you've heard that name. And our mayor's house is, the mayor's house here in Los Angeles was donated by the Getty family. Mm-hmm. John Paul Getty was going to develop from Irving to Lorraine, south of 6th Street to Wilshire, and he was going to build the big their big headquarters there, big tall building. Uh-huh. And the opening of the show, you had talked about how people have preserved Hancock Park. You've got the HPOZ, which is the Historical Preservation Overlay Zone. And what that does is that keeps the integrity of these homes. And a lot of people back then did not want Getty to build that, and he just moved on down the road, and then he subsequently donated his house.
And that was in the early days, or like the 60s? Or just...
I would say 50s or 60s.
Okay,
I believe
so there's still, for Los Angeles at that time, it seems like it was the boom years, go, develop everything.
Yeah.
And so for them to actually have an eye on conserving
absolutely. And you can't find anywhere, that's the great thing about Hancock Park. It's so diverse. Mm-hmm. You have so many types of homes.
Right.
You have the Spanish revival.
That was my next question. Is there a predominant style, or I know there's Tudor and there's Mediterranean.
There's Tudor, Mediterranean. There's
not a lot of mid-century, obviously,
no,
because
no.
they all predate
well,
mid-century.
And that's the other thing. The mid-centuries, there are non-conforming properties in Hancock Park that do not have to adhere to the HPAWs. And for value purposes, there was one that just sold it was off the charts because you can't come in and redo it. But some of these houses are non-conforming, so you can do whatever you want to.
I see.
And this was a mid-century property. And the people who came in to rehab it and sold it for just a song because they were able to do it. And there's not that many mid-centuries in
Right.
Hancock Park, but you do it right, you're going to get top dollar or over top dollar.
Right. So I am a huge fan of classic film.
Yes.
Any movie stars throughout the years here, or films that were shot, or the location was?
Oh, sure. There was many of them. John Barrymore, he lived in the neighborhood.
Okay.
These are the ones that have passed.
They're
no longer
that's
with
a relative of Drew, by the way, for you kids out there.
Yeah. Howard Hughes, Lee and Ann Strasberg.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Muhammad Ali.
I always think of them as New York.
I know. You would think, well, maybe this was their West Coast home. And Nat King Cole. Present, we have David Schwimmer, Jason Alexander, Antonio Banderas and Melanie Griffith, Kathy Bates, and Tony Shalhoub.
Wow.
Yeah. Those are a few that are here. But yeah, there was a lot of tons and tons of shooting that go on in Hancock Park. A lot of commercials are shot there every other week. You see a crew that are there. But some of the movies that were shot were Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Pretty in Pink, Beverly Hills 90210, Clear and Present Danger, Armageddon, Fight Club, American Beauty, Cheaper by the Dozen. That was the Van Nuys Mansion, and that is a huge property. It's about 12,000 square feet, and it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous house. And let's see, Charlie Wilson's War, The Artist, and some Glee.
Wow. And I heard Whatever Happened to Baby Jane was one street over from here, and I haven't picked out the house yet, but I love that movie. I want to watch it again.
Absolutely.
Well, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with John Duerler. This is LA Business Spotlight.
LA Business Spotlight is brought to you by Icebox Logic, makers of fine handcrafted audio and video. Go to iceboxlogic.net to see examples. Your company needs to communicate.
We are back with LA Business Spotlight. I'm Joel Metzger, and I'm here with real estate agent to the stars, John Duerler. We're talking about Hancock Park. Now, you specialize in a certain type of real estate, a certain bracket. It's upscale. What do you do that's different than your run-of-the-mill agent that maybe is elsewhere in the country?
First of all, I'm probably the most handsome real estate agent in Los Angeles. And
it's a radio show, by the way, folks.
Yeah, I'm beautiful.
Take his word for it.
You should just see me. You know what? It has changed. Back in 2006, people were just calling agents and you didn't have to work. Now you have to hustle it. And what sets me far between any other agent here is that I hustle and I'm hungry. And I actually do a bit of old school networking and marketing. It's I door knock. I door knock. 80% of my business is from door knocking. I go and knock on doors and get to know people because it's a people business. And you have to get out there and hustle. And I love it. And that's the other thing. You have to love what you do. And I love doing it. And the marketing is great. You have to market yourself.
Tell me what you do. I know you have a publication that I get every month.
I do. I have a circulation of 3,200 houses once a month. I don't send, and this is the run-of-the-mill agent will send a postcard in your mailbox. I don't do that. I give something back. I give people information because I love our community, and there's so much that's here. And the beautiful part about it is the history. So what we do is we do it's called the Windsor Whistler, and it'll be on your door once a month. And we talk about the historical homes. We have a historical home of the month. We pick and we do the research on the house, and we write about it and talk about it. And then, of course, in the Whistler, I have my recipes because I love to cook. And My open houses, I do a bit different for open houses. I open houses on Saturdays, normally Sundays. I always do Sundays, but I open Saturdays too, because there's a lot of people walking in the community. They're going over to Larchmont Village, and I want to capture them. And I also do barbecues. You want the people that are looking at houses to have the experience of living in them. Oh. And
if you have an open house, you mean you'll fire up the grill at the open house?
I fire up the grill at the house.
Oh, okay.
And I bring it out on the front yard, and we have desserts, we have barbecues, we want people to come in to feel the experience of the house, and so that's another little thing that I do. And then of course social media. You got to hit every aspect of it. And so with the marketing, I do a lot of the marketing with the Whistler, the Larchmont Chronicle, which is part of our area as well. But I think the biggest thing that sets me apart is that I do door knock, and I love what I do, and I love meeting people, and it's funny. I just get referrals off of that as well.
How is your particular bracket of the housing market changing? Is it different than the overall market? You have an upscale bracket. So how is that different from what's happening nationwide right now?
Well, for Hancock Park proper, I mean, we're doing very well. We did not drop 50% like Middle America did, or even the Inland Empire did, and Vegas and such. I was looking at some numbers this morning and going back. And believe it or not, in July of 2006 in Hancock Park versus today in Hancock Park, what are we, August 2012? Mm-hmm. There's an 11% drop from 2006 to now.
That's not too bad.
So it's not bad at all. Right. That's just for the month of July. But this area, and this is what I get from my door knocking, and my first question is, why do you live here? Why did you pick this area? The number one answer is the convenience and the small town in Los Angeles that they get. You don't get that anywhere else, except here. And the traffic is not as bad either. But we it all hedges on location. Mm-hmm. And there's certain pockets. Now, if you go east of Western, they've dropped a lot more than we did. I think the most it was around 20-25% that we had dropped, but we're coming back. Mm-hmm. And if properties are priced right, they fly off the shelf. And there's a lot of properties that are not up to date. Mm-hmm. And so investors that are coming into our area, they're renovating these properties, changing all of the plumbing, all of the electrical, new roof, redo the foundation. They're putting money into it and flipping these properties and making a profit, and people are paying the premium price for that. Banks are lending on it too, which is good as well, because if it's a rough house, banks may not lend on it because it needs so much work, or they'll only lend a percentage maybe.
So the future seems rosy as far as
absolutely. I mean, right now, I mean, we're doing very well. This market and the other thing too is we're 50% below on inventory from last year. There's not that many houses out there. So with it's a perfect storm, if you will. It's coupled with low interest rates, not that much on the market. And people with buying power, buyers, can come in and they've got the money. You got a lot of international buyers that are coming in. I'm working with a lot of people from China that are coming in and looking for this area. But they come in and they go, well, what's, Hancock Park versus Beverly Hills? Because Beverly Hills is internationally known,
sure,
more so than Hancock Park. But when they get over here, they love it. They love the area.
Yeah, it's a great area.
You got the embassies that are over here. I mean,
I meant to ask you about the embassies. We have a couple, right?
We have more than a couple. We have, my gosh, you have Great Britain, and then.
So the actual embassy is here because I know the consulate lives there, or the
right. Yeah, the consulate is here on I believe it's June, and then. We have the Chinese, the Japanese, the Argentina, the Canada, Belgium, Indonesia.
Turkey is right over.
Turkey. Actually, I was door knocking the Chinese consulate, and they came out, and I asked them, I go, you want to sell? Can I sell your house for you? I go, you guys need to get a bigger house. You have all the money, so let's get you into a bigger house.
I had no idea that many embassies here.
There's a lot of embassies here.
And is it? are they considered? Is that considered China in that property? I mean, the way an embassy is legally.
Sure. Well, let's see. We're looking at. I don't think they're the embassy. They're the
consulate, right?
They're the consulate.
So they do meetings there. And
yeah, they do meetings there, and they can. But I think that is Chinese soil, the home,
right,
of that.
Which
yeah,
is
and then
fascinating.
they're not under a lot of our laws at all.
You mentioned traffic. I never thought about it because the traffic is really light here. But I wonder how much of that is the Wilshire Country Club because you have to drive around it, so you can't really cut through the way you can almost everywhere else.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, I mean, and that's the thing. A lot of people from Beverly Hills are buying over here because compared to over there on some, the prices are a bargain, and you're getting more house, you're getting more land. And less traffic. I mean, and you're centrally located to downtown. You're less than 15 minutes away. You don't need to take the freeway. You can just hit 3rd and go all the way down to Beverly. And then, to Santa Monica, take Wilton or La Brea down to the 10 and zip over that way to the west side. So it's a great, great area.
It is a great area. Well, John, it's been an education. Tell people how they can reach you.
Oh, absolutely. They can reach me. My office is on Larchmont. We're at 118 North Larchmont Boulevard, right above Pete's Coffee. We're in the Keller Williams office. You can also go to my website at HancockHomesTV.com. HancockHomesTV.com. And you can always call me, 213-924-2208. But hit us on the website. We have our archives of the Windsor Whistler, whoever wants to go in there and do that. But yeah, and that was the other thing I wanted to tell you. The great thing about working for Keller Williams is that I can brand my own name,
right?
Hancock Homes.
Right.
So please give me a call anytime. We'll be, we can help you, even if you're investing, because investing's big right now too, and we work with a lot of investors as well.
Okay. John, thank you very much. This has been LA Business Spotlight. I'm Joel Metzger. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
You've been listening to LA Business Spotlight. If you have a company or service and you'd like to appear on the show, send an email to info@iceboxlogic.net.
This podcast was recorded at the studios of Icebox Logic.